Hello everyone, and welcome back to the second part of my Java tutorial where we're going to be learning about if statements. So let's get right on to it. So what are if statements? If statements are, to put it basically, is they're a selective. So what a selective does is it only runs a block of code if a certain criteria is met. So let's show you an example. So if true, I'm going to say if parentheses, inside there we're going to put true, and then use the curly brackets for the scope, and we're going to say else this. And we're going to put inside the outputs to the console, like so. And we're going to say this is inside the first if. In fact, we'll get rid of the first. We'll say this is inside the if, and inside here we're going to say system.out.println. This is inside the else statement. So once you run this, my bad, don't forget the semicolons, otherwise it won't be able to run. So as you can see, this is inside the if statement, so this block of code here. And I'll probably just remove this bit a little here, just so there's a bit of space for you to read it. So here's the if, and here's the else. And as you can see, since the condition inside here is true, it runs this statement. But we can also reverse that, and we can say false. And when we run this, it'll run this block of code in here. This is inside the else statement. So, why is this useful? Well, you can manipulate a few things if only a certain criteria is met. So, let's take a look at the comparators that we'll use when going along this tutorial. So we have many here. So we have equal to, not equal to, greater than, or equal to, greater than, actually let's swap those around, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, or less than. So we'll focus on these ones for now. So what does this do? Well, let's change this and let's use numbers. So we're going to say int, we're going to say age, and we're going to say, well, I'm 19, so I'll put my age as 19. You can put whatever your age is. So we're going to say there's going to be a limit, and we're going to say old. And what is old? To me, old is 70. So if age is less than old, then we're going to print out to the console and say, wow, you are younger than, and let's use our concentration, years old. Now remember, adding the concentration, you've got to add pluses to both sides. Sometimes even I forget. Else, if that's not true, I'm going to say, we're going to be pretty much printing the same thing here, except we're going to say, wow, you are older than 70 years old. So wow, you are older than 70, because old was assigned to 70. So older than 70 years old. So if age is less than old, so let's run it. So wow, you are younger than 70 years old. That's pretty good. What if I'm 70. Am I younger than 70 if I'm 70? Well, in this case, it says, wow, you're older than 70 years old. Which is incorrect, but we'll run along with it. As you can see, it uses the older here because it is not less than, because 70 is not less than 70, so it runs this statement here. So wow, you're older than 70 years old, even though you are 70 years old. So how to fix that? Just put an equal sign here, and this will still be incorrect because it says, wow, you're younger than 70 years old, which is actually false. But you can see here that the less than equal sign and how they can impact a program. So let's customize it just a little bit. And we're going to say if age is equal to old, which is the same, it's going to say, wow, you are, I'm going to make another one here, actually, because I'm going to copy it out. So we're going to say, you are 70 years old. And let's remove this, my bad. So it's going to print out, you are 70 years old. So there are 3 scenarios. You can either be 70 years old, less than 70 years old, or greater than 70 years old. So let's get rid of that. And let's add a else if. And I'm going to say if age is less than old, then it's going to say, wow, you are younger than 70 years old. So you got 3 different scenarios here. You got where you are exactly 70 years old, you got if when you're less than 70 years old, and you have the case where you're neither of these scenarios. So in this case, you are greater than 70 years old. Now it's important to state that if and else if require conditions inside the parentheses, while the else statement does not. You can just have the else. So we used equal to, we used less and less than equal to. And the same can be said for greater and greater equal to. Greater and greater is equal to. This one here, and we're going to say, let's swap that out. So if age is not equal to 70 years old, you're going to notice that once we run this, it's not going to run any of this. So let's change our age. So as you can see, once we run this code, all of this gets ignored. It only continues until a criteria is met, and then it exits the if statement. So you are not 70 years old, which is true because we are 69 years old, not 70 years old. But anyway, let's change that back. So there are a few more operators we can use inside these conditions, and they are and, or, and not. And if you want, there's also one called XOR. Now, in Java, the way you represent this is not by typing in and, but using these symbols here. and not is that. And XOR, I believe, is that. So, let's get rid of this. And let's add another if statement. So we're going to say if here, and let's add a whole bunch of if statements. I think that would probably be best. And we're going to add 4 of these. Just a little practice, so it can be ingrained. And let's copy this comment. I believe I have not told you what a comment is. So this is how to do a single line comment. What my mouse is on, that's how you do a single line comment. And as you notice, the computer doesn't do anything with it. It's just for human readable code. It's not even code, it's just human readable. To make it multi-line, all you do is add a / like the same, and then add an asterisk, and then back here, add an asterisk and a backslash. And as you can see, they are now a comment. But anyway, let's move on. So we're going to see in here, we're going to have true and true, and it's going to print out system.out.println. We're going to say inside the first if statement. I'm going to say true and false. And we're going to say inside the second if statement. I think you guys know what I'm doing here. So third if statement. And now we're going to be in the fourth if statement. And we're going to say if false and true. And we're going to say if false and false. So how many of these are going to run? You're going to probably going to say none, because only one of them, only one is going to run, because when one runs, then the rest are terminated. And that is true if the if statement blocks, so else if and else. So if one of those gets run, then yes, you're totally correct. But since these are their own independent if statement blocks, so to be, then multiple of these ones can actually run after one another. But that's only if these conditions are true. So let's go ahead and run it, and you'll notice that only one of them is going to be run inside the first if statement. Now why is that? Well, as we've noticed, inside the if statement only runs if it's true. So is true and true true? Well, that sounds pretty true, so it runs. What about true and false? Is true and false true? No, not really. What about false and true? Again, not really. What about false and false? Definitely not. There's no truth in that. So, only the first if statement runs. But now, what about if we use OR? So, how many of these are going to run? So, it's either true or true. It's either true or false. False or true, or false or false. Well, let's go ahead and run it. So inside the first if statement, inside the second, inside the third if statement, but not inside the fourth. Why is that? Well, let's take a look. Now remember, this condition only runs if it's true. So true or true. Yeah, that sounds true. What about true or false? Well, it can be either true or false or true. Since there's one true, it runs. Same with here. Since there is at least one true, it runs. But inside here, false or false, doesn't seem to run. And it doesn't run. Because there is no truth, or there is no true statement in here. You can only pick between either false or false. And since none of them have true in it, this statement doesn't run. If you're mathematical in nature, and is actually let's do it like this, and is equal to 1 times 1 is equal to 1. So remember, 0 is false, 1 is true. So and is equal to 1 times 1 is equal to 1. Or is equal to 1 plus 1. And that's only equal to 1 because computers can't do math, really. You can represent this too if you want. Why not? So again, so as you can see here, if this is 0, so if it's true and false, then what is this? It's false. If this is 0, then this can run. As long as it's not 0, it can run. So what about this? This can't run. And this here is the same as here in terms of condition. Same with the AND statement. So 1 times 0 is equal to 0, which is what we're saying when we say true and false. It's just basically 1 times 0, which is equal to 0. It has to be 1 or greater than 1, greater than 0. It has to be at least greater than 0. But we haven't used this one yet, and we won't be using this one at all. Because these are only the necessities. This one, you don't really need this one, at least not in the beginning. Perhaps I will show you this in a future tutorial. But let's use not. Well, as you can see here, this statement doesn't run. But if we add this inside parentheses, if you know maths, all you have to do to represent this is add an exclamation point at the back of it, or in the front of it, I guess. So the very first thing, and then what is going to run? Now you can notice that both of them, all of them run. Why is that? What is it that not does? Well, not is just an inverter. So if we say not and, then this is equal to 0. Because remember, not reverses whatever is the value of and. Same with or. So if it's not this, then it's equal to 0. Remember, basically, remove this here, just so I can show you another example. Don't know what's happening just there. Let's get rid of this. Let's say false, put an exclamation here, and we're going to say else. So this is not false. So system.out.println, this is the first if statement. And we're going to say system.out.println, this is the else statement. Now which one of these is going to run? This is false, but it has a not in front of it. or at the back of it. I don't know how to say it, but it doesn't matter. It just has to be placed before the condition. So this is the first if statement, because not reverses whatever is the condition. So those are the things to keep in mind. So what have you learned today? You have learned what the equal sign is, so equal to. You have learned what is the not equal to. You have learned about the less than, equal to, and less than. And by that extension, you've pretty much also know the greater and greater than or equal to. You've also learned the and how that works. You've also learned the or statements, or comparators, and you've also learned about not. If you want to stay a little bit longer and know about the XOR statement does, you can do so, but if you don't want to, that's fine. You'll almost not really ever really meet it. So what does XOR do? Well, XOR only runs, so as you saw in here, where 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. With XOR, 1 plus 1 is equal to 0. But 1 plus 0 is equal to 1. So, if you've enjoyed that little tutorial there, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. If you want a bit more detail on how these things work, I can provide another video, because I feel like I did not explain this very well. But thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next video where we will be learning about loops.